Hello, loves. Hello, hello. Hills here from the blue flame, coming to you as we move through a powerful cosmic consciousness ascension event. That beautiful kite, which I talked about in the short, that's being formed as Venus making her last spins through the end of Leo, meets in grand fire trine with the galactic center in Sagittarius and the retrograde Chiron in Aries. At the moment of this peaking, which will be on the 16th of September, 16th and 17th, it's really running from the 15, 16, 17, we find the goddess energies, those magnetic feminine energies of Venus, sextile to Mars in Libra, also making final rotations in that sign, and the galactic center, also sextile to Mars. Mars, who happens to be just across the wheel from the retrograde Chiron. This is an energetic event of clearing old patterns and stuckness that have been limiting our capacity to fully embrace, to take center stage, and to, with loud, bold-hearted voice, exclaim, I am. This energy is moving us into alignment with the solar eclipse, the Virgo blue new moon, the second new moon of this eclipse wormhole, which is happening on the 21st of September and is carrying us into the equinox. And that's really what we're here to talk about today. So as we move through this cosmic consciousness acceleration point, we are coming into greater contact. And remember, Mercury and the Sun are rotating conjunctly through the South Node as we move through this. We are coming into greater contact with that I am, with the stories and the narratives that have filtered through into our DNA that have been asking us to stay small, to not shine our light or stand tall, and bringing us into greater alignment with our soul. Now, as we move through this cosmic consciousness acceleration event, Venus will continue moving through the final degrees of Leo, coming on the 19th, thereabout, 19th or 20th, into the 0 degree of Virgo. As this happens, Venus will pass through the heart of the lion, the fixed star Regulus. Can we feel that powerful transition and bringing Venus into alignment with the point where this lunar priestess eclipse wormhole began, that 0 degree of Virgo. So we're coming in some ways full circle as we come towards the final Virgo new moon of this cycle. We're coming full circle and magnetically attracting that which we began this journey. Let's feel that for a moment. We are connecting, looping back to that which is where we began this journey so that we can collect, so that we can recollect and remember all that is our truth that we came into this wormhole with. Allowing it to rise into our being as everything that we have been eclipsing out throughout this cycle filters away, and we find ourselves with all this space. So the light within us has more space to take up. The bold-hearted, the courageous, the magnetic, the creator, creatrix, that part of ourself that remembers we are both and, that we are embodied form, in bodily form, souls, stellar light. So we're coming into this as we move into that crescent sun solar eclipse on the 21st of September. This Virgo new moon event will be exact at 12:54 p.m. Pacific and will literally only be visible in the South Pacific, New Zealand, Antarctica. A tiny sliver of it will be visible in the Sydney area of Australia and some of the islands there around. So a very, very tight window of this planet is getting to view this solar eclipse event. However, it is sending reverberations throughout the Gaia grid. And I would like to point out that this eclipse, this solar eclipse, which is moving with the south node, is most visible in that area of this Gaia grid we call the South Pole. Can we feel how we're bringing everything up? When I talk about a cosmic consciousness acceleration event, we're talking about the causal chakra. We're talking about remembering the gifts that we came into incarnate form with. Letting go of old narratives that say you must work hard, you must struggle to learn that language. Perhaps all you need to do is remember the lifetime in which you spoke it. One of the things that I can share is my personal experience with many different things has been that I take one course of something, and it's like a continuing education course. Basically, I start reading this book, or I start taking this program. I start looking at a curriculum, and all of a sudden, a massive download comes through, and I'm able to connect with that part of me that remembers when I have experienced this before as a soul. And all of a sudden, I remember how to work with herbs. I remember how to read an astrological chart. I remember how to get from point A to point B in a city, state, or town. These are things that are available for all of us, but we have been told that in order to learn this thing or that thing, we have to have all of this documentation in this incarnation that says that we have learned it, rather than remembering that we already know. And this is on so many levels. Right now, I'm talking about that kind of seemingly mundane, working with this language or with this location, etc., right? Working with crystals. But this is true with healing. We remember how to lay our hands upon an ailing part of us and allow that light to move through. A friend of mine was sharing that the being who brought Reiki through had exactly this sort of event when he was hiking and hurt his ankle, sprained his ankle, and felt this download come through and suddenly was allowing light to move through his hands to remedy the ankle so he could walk on it again to get home. And that is actually how the healing form that we call Reiki began. It was a causal chakra activation, a soul star chakra activation, a past life remembering. And this is something that is possible. Each and every one of us is possessed of the capacity for this sort of remembering. What each of us will remember is unique to us, right? Because we've all had different soul journeys. When we talk about coming into the next wave or the next cycle of human development, this releasing of the amnesic, I can speak, the amnesia that is such a part of this karmic cycle of human development is part of what is being released. And this brings me to some astrology. So on the day of this crescent sun solar eclipse, in conjunction with the South Pole, in Virgo at 29 degrees, the sun and moon, we find Saturn across the wheel, retrograde, at now on that point, 28 degrees of Pisces. So very tightly across the wheel. Saturn has often been called the Lord of Time and the Lord of Karma. As Saturn has moved through Pisces, we have been experiencing more flow state, releasing limitation and dogmatic structure, releasing this idea that it must be a struggle. And as Saturn makes now in this retrograde the final turnings, backwards and then forwards again through the sign of the fishes, through this transcendent dream, we are getting to shed, to eclipse out, right? All of those false narratives and bring more conscious awareness to our Dharma, to that work that we are truly here in this incarnation to experience, to build new foundations. Now, this is actually a mutable grand cross that this eclipse is making, because the sun and moon in Virgo across the wheel from Saturn are being crossed by the galactic center, which is being activated as part of this cosmic consciousness acceleration event, right? The galactic center, the center of this Milky Way galaxy, the center, that point that invites us to feel that magnitude of expansion, right? Magnitude of expansion and creative potentiality. And across the wheel from the galactic center at 28 degrees of Gemini, so Saturn in Pisces, quite tightly squaring, is the North Star, or at least our current North Star, Polaris. Now, Betelgeuse, the supernova energy of Orion, is also right there at 29 degrees of Gemini, 0 degrees of Cancer, kind of flowing in that place. So we have our true north in conjunction, in square with our south node, right? We are feeling all of this energy, this push-pull that is releasing polarity, that if only then, allowing us to come into that infinite cycle and us in the center, us in the center. Which brings me to the energy of the equinox. Less than 24 hours, almost 24 hours, but 23 and change hours after this eclipse, we move through the Libra equinox. So the sun, first the moon, and then the sun pass through the 0 degree of Libra. This is a 0 degree of a cardinal sign. It is a new beginning. And the energy that I have been asked to relay about this particular moment is that it's like the Merkaba. And if you're not familiar with the Merkaba, it is the divine chariot that we are traveling with. It's part of the interdimensional vessel of our beingness, okay? The way that it is shaped often looks like an 8-pointed star. What it really is an upward orientated pyramid and an downward orientated pyramid or pentacle in both directions. And in the very center is a balance point, one rotating one direction, the other rotating the other. And our job within this is to find the center, find our center of gravity, find our balance point. Now, many interdimensional beings will talk about the Merkaba as being the vehicle for interdimensional travel or interstellar travel. Okay, so we find our center point. And this particular eclipse wormhole, we are emerging from the eclipse into that balance point. Okay, finding our point of balance, our equilibrium at that moment as we emerge from the lunar priestess eclipse wormhole. Now, as we move with the sun moving into that 0 degree of Libra, the sun shifts from being across from Saturn to being across with Neptune, retrograde at 0 degrees of Aries, bringing that energy of our foundation into our dreams, into our interstellar capacity for shamanic visioning. Opening more channels, causality, finding truer alignments between our physicality and our stellar light, our divinity. As this is occurring, the sun will be exactly trine to that planet of awakening Uranus, now retrograde at 0 degrees of Gemini, in conjunction with Sedna, traveling inwards from the Oort cloud, bringing all that messaging. Are you starting to notice the trend of this conversation? It is about this entire process as we're moving through this eclipse wormhole is about bringing forward that which needs to be brought forward for our ascension journey and letting go of all that superfluous information that serves no more. Now, this is a grand air trine because the sun on the equinox will be exactly trine Uranus and Pluto as we emerge from the equinox into this new. Remember, cardinal signs are about the new. So we emerge into this new. The sun will make an exact trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and we can feel all of those places where we're holding on to dogmatic beliefs that only the chosen few are allowed to ascend. As we remember that we are all here for our shadow work, and we are all here to connect with the divine. We are all grass growing up and the sun shining down. Each and every one of us and each and every cell of every one of us. Each and every cell of every single thing on this plane is part of this joyous dance. And we are all carrying a unique thread of this tapestry. And we are all being asked to sing our song. Are some of us in different places than others? Of course we are. We all came in with different foundations, right? We've all had different experiences. Some of us have walked in from distant lands and have never experienced embodiment on the earthly plane before. And some of us have been done here quite a long time now, right? And then everything in between. We all have the unique thread. Some of us are meant to bring the first ticklings down a trail, some the bigger foundations, and some full party, right? We all have different places and planes where we most resonate. What's important to remember is not trying to say one is better than the other. They are simply each and every one of our unique flavors. That is very hard for us when we are in these human bodies often, right? We forget that our perception has been colored by limitation. And we're letting go of that limitation, but sometimes it moves a little slower than we'd like it to. At this same time as the sun is moving into this trine with Pluto, Mars will move from Libra into Scorpio and make a square with the same. And here we can start to really feel that which we are saying about how old judgments and let me feel how this really wants to be said. Stories and power plays have no place in this new age. Scorpio is a sign about that which has been hidden, and it is also very associated with the planet of Pluto and power. And of course, Mars is that drive and purpose. We can feel through this square how Mars, now moving into Scorpio in a dance with Pluto, is saying, hey, I have this purpose. Oh, I have this purpose. And together there's a dance, a movement. And we can let go of these old cosmic stories of I just had a very loud motorcycle go by, and I could feel this energy of striving to be seen. And that so many of the power plays that we have experienced on this earthly plane are connected to that. We wear each other's clothes, or we try and take each other's roles because we think that that is how we can be seen. And we do that in families too. We play a role that doesn't fit us because that's what expected. And we contort ourselves. But this is the old way, and it's wounding and it's painful, and we can let that go. That is part of what is being eclipsed out now. As Mars enters Scorpio, Mars will do this in trine to Persephone, Yeshua, and Kali, all moving retrograde now. And an invitation to feel how we can gift ourselves and one another as we let go of this idea that the shadow is something to other, to shun, to demonize and slay. And instead, remember that it is part of what makes our light shine so bright. If you've ever looked at the sky when the sun is shining on gray clouds, you'll understand a little bit what we are right now here talking about. They will also be trining with Polaris and Betelgeuse, bringing us into connection with that emergence moment of the eclipse. As we move into the next cycle, we are going to be asked to create more and more and more from that place of true north. To be asking that question, does this serve the all of sentience? Does this serve the highest good? Is this in accordance with divine will? With every choice point. Might sound like a lot of work in conjunction with that, remembering that we're entering more flow state, but we know how to do this. The actual struggle is pretending that we don't know when we actually do. When you let go of that narrative, all of a sudden you can feel the choice. Oh, it's that way. Oh, it's not that way. You can feel it in your heart. You can feel it in your guts. You can feel it in your head and in every cell of your being. Because your body remembers. Because your body knows your soul. We just need to let go of the idea that we don't. Just like what we started this presentation talking about. Let go of the idea that you don't know how to speak French because you didn't learn it in school. If your soul knows how to speak French, you know how to speak French. That's one little example. Let go of these old ideas, these old constructs, these old dogmatic belief systems. And allow yourself to remember all that you are. May this eclipse in emergence and balance point be for you all that it needs to be. May you find yourself remembering everything that you are. And let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to share, if anything has divined. And as always, in the always, so much and many loves to you from the dimensions of the all and beyond the beyond.